I think going back and reassessing the value proposition, right, and the market positioning. Did you tell that story correctly? Am I focused in on the right, not only metrics, but the right market?
So, Neil, what are the key metrics that you think startup founders should be thinking about with respect to financial metrics, milestones? What are the most important things for assessing a startup's valuation?
Yeah, I think it kind of there's a few different ways to look at it, but let's just take the example of having a token, understanding what we call kind of TVL, right? Total value locked
Yes.
within the protocol. That's a very important metric, hard to kind of pinpoint, but certainly something that you want to think about. If it's like a staking mechanism, call it protocol revenue or staking revenue, right? Trying to model that out. Again, that's kind of correlated to the next metric, which is call it kind of user growth and retention, right? Around the token, like trying to figure that out, at least trying to model it out. Those are all things that we particularly try to understand. And then that equates to, volume and velocity of the token. All these are kind of factors that, while somewhat difficult to understand, but looking at the market and seeing similar types of protocols and how they perform, trying to derive some sort of bands, if you will, of metrics around some of those things, certainly important. So that's, if I'm putting a protocol together, those are all things that, we really want to try to hone in on. As opposed to, again, comparing to Web2, where you might look at a company and say, hey, what's, total price to revenue, right?
Yeah.
Enterprise value to revenue, stuff like that. So those are some of the differences when you're looking at something at the protocol level and how it fits into the overall company.
Brilliant. Okay, number 5, low valuation strategies. How should this is one of those questions that you have to know a little bit to really engage with. Mindful,
Yeah.
we're talking startup founders from 0 to 1 here. How should a startup approach the valuation process? And I think this is specifically towards how much you want the company to be worth versus how much you're raising.
I think when someone comes in and puts kind of a mark on you, which is on the lower side than what you were expecting, I think going back and reassessing the value proposition, right, and the market positioning, right? Did you tell that story correctly? Did you pull the right metrics that I just mentioned, right, properly? Is your data right on that, right? And then did you describe that use case properly? I think that reassessment process is something that is fairly critical in understanding. And then, you take a look around and, do I have the right team that I've put together, right? Am I focused in on the right, not only metrics, but the right market, right? Because again, if I'm an investor, if I'm looking at, either, a traditional exit strategy from the company level or what the interest is on the liquidity associated with the token in the specific ecosystem, I want to make sure that, you've thought through those types of concepts fairly detailed, right? At the end of the day. So, I would say that, those are kind of the key areas. If someone came to me and said, hey, you're worth $5 million, but I think, like to your point, I feel like I should be worth, 10 to 20. Well, you got to make the use case for that. And the use case is usually data driven. If you can, married with some qualitative factors around, the strength of your team and your overall concept.